3, 2, 1, and we are back. Can you even believe it? Episode 161 of Marketing as a Foreign Language. Our very first return guest in the history of the show joins us backstage, virtually, if you will. I have been telling all of my friends and family about Keith Guernsey's, aka the Gurns, story about when he was in a baseball game. Just watch the last episode, you'll get the whole thing. Point is that he has really changed the trajectory of my life. I was listening to the interview yesterday, and one of the things he mentioned was every day that you spend bummed out, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, that's just life. But every day you spend just, I guess for lack of a better word, depressed or unhappy is just a waste. It's a wasted day. You have wasted a day. And I love that sort of stoicism, that sort of, hey man, look, life is short. You're going down. Gravity's got us all, right? It's got our number. And I need that. I need that from time to time. It is no surprise that Keith and I have crossed paths. And I could not be more honored to have the incredible Gurns returns on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual hands together. Keith Guernsey. All right, buddy.
Thank you, Kellen.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, my gosh.
That's quite an introduction to have to live up to.
Oh, you know what? I hear, rumor has it, that you are going to be speaking for 3 to 5 minutes at a myeloma speech sort of deal tonight. You want to tell the folks about that?
Yes. Well, I am a member of Myeloma, an organization dedicated to myeloma survivors, myeloma patients, if you will. And when I was first diagnosed, I started searching the internet for these types of organizations. The old story about misery loves company. And I got a lot of, good feedback about, various cures or things you could do to ease the pain or what have you. And it's a wonderful, wonderful group of people. We all share the diagnosis of multiple myeloma. And they had asked me to speak and share how I got to the point where I am now, which is my 11th month of remission and feeling healthier and better, both physically and mentally, at 68 than at any time since I stopped playing hockey at 28. And, it's a wonderful opportunity to share I've already shared it with a lot of people individually, but this is an opportunity to share it with the entire group.
Yeah.
And I'm honored.
Yeah, it really is an honor. And public speaking to me reminds me of magic. And just being a wizard, which I know is a very nerdy thing to say. But it does. It feels like you're enchanting, like you're casting a spell, you're influencing. There is something, a je ne sais quoi, that happens with public speaking because it's in the top 10 list for almost everyone in regards to what they most fear in life. And why is that? It's because you are changing. You are changing minds when you do that.
Exactly.
And it is a big responsibility. Teachers know this. I mean, they are literally public speakers for a living. It's pretty incredible, the power of it. So I'm very excited for you for your speech tonight.
Well, thank you. And I'm very excited. I'm honored, again, to be chosen to speak. I really love to do this type of thing. I love to do it virtually during the pandemic. And once the pandemic is over, I want to get back to the stand-up public speaking. I've got a couple people who've expressed an interest, a couple organizations who expressed an interest, but obviously we can't do it till things are in more control. But my end goal, if you will, is to inspire folks. And obviously during, these times of pandemic, civil unrest, et cetera, everyone needs a little inspiration.
Yeah, that's and you inspired me last time. There's no other verb to describe it. Changed
good.
Yeah, I'm thrilled about it. Okay, so If I do recall correct, well, first of all, I will say that we're going to see an inverse relationship from the fall of coronavirus cases and positivity, if that makes any sense. So dude, and it's going to be global. It's going to be global positivity. It's going to be incredible. We will all have survived this thing, and we're going to be all better for it. And those of us
from your lips to God's ears.
Yes, sir. So, okay, I was joking with Keith earlier that we're going to finish up his life story today. We've got 25 minutes, so that'll be easy. just kind of cruised. These interviews that I watch people sometimes just desperately get through their whole life kind of makes me sad in a way, because I feel like everyone deserves a chance to just relax into it and just go through the whole deal, So that's exactly what we're going to do. To summarize, grew up in Boston, right? Baseball is almost a religion, I'm told.
Yes.
By one Keith Guernsey. The anecdote that we all most remember is that gray strip on Keith's bottom, the cap falling in the wind. If you're all wondering what I'm talking about, go watch the other episode and you'll get it. Okay, so you're a young boy in Boston. Then what?
I discovered, obviously, that baseball was definitely not my sport. At the time, there wasn't any Pop Warner football, so I couldn't start football yet. But I did start playing hockey. I was very blessed that Dad put my sister Michelle and I on skates about the same time that he got us up walking. So, I learned to skate. I was better, more graceful. I have a friend who said, "You're much more graceful as a skater than you are as a walker. You walk like a klutz, but you skate much more gracefully." And I remember in the 8th grade, I talked in the last episode about my mom and her acumen with the sewing needle, but I didn't talk a lot about my dad. And he was the most patient person on the planet. Unfortunately, in my case, patience has kind of skipped a generation in the Guernsey family. But I was trying to find a sport that I was good at, and I found that I was pretty good at hockey. And like most 8th grade boys, I was focused in two areas: sports and girls, and not focused in academics whatsoever. While my sister Michelle was cruising through straight A's, I was struggling to pass all my courses. And Dad knew how much I wanted to go to hockey camp that summer. And he said, "I'll tell you what, if you pass all your courses, I will pay for 2 weeks of hockey camp." Now, he was thinking he was safe distance-wise, travel-wise, because there was a hockey camp 30 minutes to the north and 45 minutes to the west. And I did pass all my courses, and just then I had gotten a brochure from a hockey camp up as far north on the continent as possible and still being on dry land. Yeah. It was like the equivalent of driving from Boston to Los Angeles. It was like 3,000 miles. And I saw that there was going to be tons and tons of professional NHL hockey players. And I said, "Dad, that's where I want to go." And to his everlasting credit, he never balked at driving that far. He said, "Okay." He said, "I made a promise. I made a commitment. I'm going to take you." And like I say, we got in the car.
So, pause.
Okay.
So, thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to be rude and interrupting you.
That's right.
Okay. So, in business, obviously, there are going to be countless moments like this. And being a parent teaches us this as well. You promise something to your child. You say, "I will do this thing." And the old adage, "Careful what you wish for," comes to mind. You wish, you're like, "I want to be rich." It's like, okay, you're rich now, and this is the life that that kind of surrounds you. But when it comes to proposals, when it comes to sales, when it comes to building relationships, these kinds of moments happen a lot, pretty frequently, where you say you're going to do something, and then it's not quite the way that you had envisioned it, and you have a choice to make. You can either say, "Yeah, that's not what I meant," and you can step back, right, and kind of ruin that relationship a little bit, or you can push forward And so I love that your dad set an example of, I told you I would do it, so it's going to be uncomfortable for me, but I'm doing it anyway. So I love that. And that there's a lot of parallels, obviously, between good sales and business and that.
Yeah, and he did teach me at a very early age the value of hard work. And just to skip ahead, we drove up to the hockey camp, and with an 8-year-old brat belly aching that he wanted to stop for food about every 5 minutes. And he would never admit this, but on the ride back, he was alone 3,000 miles back from Ontario to Boston. I'm sure he probably had a more peaceful ride back than he did a ride up.
3,000 miles?
Yeah, just about. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's close. It was close to driving from Boston to Los Angeles.
Oh,
that sort of distance.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. I didn't realize what part of Canada we were talking about.
If you drove any further, you would have been in the ocean. It was that far up. But we got out of the car finally, and I'm sure it was a relief to finally get there. And all these NHL stars were walking through the parking lot, greeting all the campers like myself. And the very next morning, we hit the ice, and we saw a young crew cut 18-year-old calling all the other instructors sir. And it was one, Bobby Orr, who would later go on to be a Hall of Fame defenseman, and arguably the best defenseman and one of the best players of all time.
Wow.
And it was an honor to play with him and against him. And it's also been an honor to correspond with him over the years. I've sent him my books. He sent me his books. He even left me a voicemail one time, and I wish I had the technology to have saved it. But
right.
Yeah, for a Hall of Famer like him to return my call so promptly. I mean, he called me back before even members of my family had done. But it was a great experience. It was a great relationship builder. And yes, between dads teaching me the value of hard work, in my schoolwork and focusing, lessons that I took with me the rest of my life.
Yeah. So shout out to Bobby Orr, obviously. If you're watching the show, thanks.
If he isn't, I'll send him an email, tell him to.
Hey, shout out. We appreciate you.
Really.
You made it here in spirit. And this is the nature of the work we do on the planet, which is in the moment we're sweating, we're afraid, we're nervous, we're doing everything we can to get through that difficult, challenging moment. And then, just imagine Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King delivering the I Have a Dream speech. What does that feel like? You're standing in front of just incredible mass of people. Do you recognize even in that moment what that moment is? Perhaps you do, perhaps you don't. There's just this incredible energy to it. And then the spirit echoes. It just echoes, and it echoes in the lives of the people who are fortunate enough to receive it. And so to me, there was a moment in Bobby Orr's life where he maybe was thinking about quitting, or he was just hurting, and it was just and he persevered through that. And then now his experience has made it to this show. So just the interconnectivity of experience is always fascinating to me. And when people fixate, as I often do, about making money and, becoming this, whatever your idea of somebody is, right? Becoming somebody. It is of paramount importance to remember that people create money. People make money. We do. You do. Exactly. I do. It's just an illusion. We're the ones who make it. And so if you really have profound love and respect for the people around you, you will find that you are wealthy.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So kudos to your dad. He gets you there. Amazing. Yep. You meet some incredible people at the, I don't know if you call it an event. How long were you there? Weeks, months, days?
2 weeks.
So did he stick around, your dad, or did
No,
he?
no. Oh, no. He went all the way back and and then turned around in 2 weeks and came all the way back for me. So he went home. The equivalent of essentially 2 round trips across the country in a 2-week period. Never, as I said, he was the most patient person on the planet, never uttered one word of complaint.
Wow.
Ever. And just, as a matter of fact, my second book is details my uncommon and love and bond with my father, who's not with us anymore, but
right.
He was unbelievable. He sat in every frozen rink in North America watching me play. And again, he loved every minute of it. Again, even though it was colder than cold in those rinks, because they didn't regulate the temperature like they do today,
Right.
He never uttered a word of complaint. He only made one mistake. We were having a father and son game, and he said, I want to do what you do. I want to play goalie for the fathers. I said, Dad, I don't recommend that, and here's why. I'm wearing 60 pounds of padding. It's very cumbersome and very difficult to get used to. But he was just as persistent as he taught me persistence, which has stood me in good stead over the years, especially in sales and sales management. But he insisted on playing goal. And I said, I really recommend you don't. The pads are cumbersome. They're very hard to get used to, especially trying to skate with them on. And when you know it, the game started, the very first foray down the ice, he dove out to block a shot, and he separated his shoulder.
Ooh, yeah.
And he had to be taken off the ice on a stretcher.
Yeah, wow.
And I never really said, I told you so, but you could see the expression on my face once he was better. But
right. Yeah, well, look, I mean, you say it's a mistake, but I respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's true. I mean, maybe not a mistake, but maybe he should have, tried on the pads and practiced wearing the pads first or something. But
no,
I guess you learn by doing, right?
Hey, no coincidence. No coincidence. It's just a body.
Yeah.
It's just a body. Whoop-de-doo. You separate your shoulder. Like you're not gonna live forever. You got to use the thing.
This is true.
And I love that. It's and not to mention it's because in part he was doing it for himself because he wanted to do it, obviously, but in part he was doing it for you. And that's love. That's sacrifice.
Exactly.
And it's easy to kind of look at like a father-son situation and talk about the love. I don't want to say it's fairly common. It can be incredibly rare at times. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can, or I've experienced deep relationships with employees, right? Where I've sacrificed and they've sacrificed for me. And that's important to recognize, I think, as well, if you want to be a successful business owner. This sort of distance that people put in their minds of manager, employee, in regards to actually respecting someone on a profound level is just crazy to me. I just don't understand it when people, they'll bark orders and you're my subordinate and you're just going to listen to what I have to say. My staff recently completely changed the entire strategy of our company, and I was not even a part of it because they're better at it than I am. And I've made that abundantly clear. In the morning call today, I said, look, I'm focused on this show. I'm focused on, I got invoice stuff I got to do. There's business development stuff. There's a lot of money stuff I'm dealing with. But you guys are better at blogging than I am. So thank you so much for pushing, because what we basically did is instead of writing a whole bunch of 400-word articles, we're writing half as many, twice or more as long. They're just better. There's less of them, but they're way better. And that's what you need to do because there's just so much noise out there. So anyway, I'm actually reminded of how impressed I am by my teammates when you mentioned, So, okay, so back to the story. He dislocates his shoulder. Are we following a timeline?
Was it what?
I don't know if we're following like a timeline or not. Like, where are we?
Well,
Are we?
yeah, we are. We're in about the 8th grade. Okay. And like I said, they didn't have Pop Warner football, so I couldn't play until I got into high school in the 9th grade. And yes, this is the sequential timeline. Tried out for the team, made the team, 9th grade. It was starting both ways, having a blast. And all of a sudden, Dad comes in and says, I've been transferred for a year to California. I've never lived outside Lexington my whole life. Now, I didn't even know there was an outside of Lexington, aside from going to Fenway Park in Boston. So I had to give up football after the first game. My coach was every bit as heartbroken as I was, but we went to Cali for a year, and I learned a lot about living with others. How do I say this delicately? People who are not of a Caucasian background, if you will.
Yeah.
And I learned, how to live with them and interact with them and enjoy their company. And, they were all accommodating. They're all very nice people. And I learned that you cannot judge a person by their ethnicity or the color of their skin.
Of course not. Yeah, of course
not. And then we came back in 10th grade. I may be the only person you'll ever speak to who went from high school to junior high to high school back to junior high. And never actually left Lexington except for that 1 year. Came back to Lexington High, played football the rest of my time there. I was, how you say, undistinguished. I have my yearbook right across the hall where a gentleman said, I hear you're a great football player. And I said, well, I appreciate saying that, but yeah, I was okay. Hockey was really my sport. But I continued to play hockey. I went from goalie to defenseman. I became an all-star in the junior A league back in Lexington, and had a blast with both hockey and football. And of course, the other things that went with it, chasing girls, of course,
right? Which
is what every red-blooded high school kid does. And I passed all my courses. I still have my diploma from 50 some years ago here, and I glance at it every so often and I say, I did make it out of high school. Yeah. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be sure, I just look at it, just like I do with my college degree. So I went to college at Framingham State, and I have to share a story with you that just occurred as an alumnus from Framingham State. Our newly adopted dog, Zoey, who is already spoiled rotten, was featured in their new 2021 calendar as the pup of the month in June. Now she's even more spoiled.
Okay.
She's got a picture in the calendar. And I went to Framingham. I went to Merrimack first, and I went to Framingham and finished and got my degree in 1976.
Okay.
And it was the best bench warmer money could buy in football at Framingham. And that was it. Then I went out in the working world.
Okay, so 10:53. We got 7 minutes left on the show. We've made it to college. Obviously, there are countless experiences in college that left an effect or had an effect on your life. I think in 1976, education must have been quite different than it is today.
It was.
Go ahead.
But I was just going to say, a lot of those experiences at Framingham State are not shareable here. They would burn up the lines between Gainesville, Georgia, and Nevada. Besides.
Okay, so a young man does things.
A young man did some very, very foolish things.
Oh yeah.
I joined a fraternity. There was one fraternity on campus that was very uninteresting to everyone in any of the sports teams. And so all the jocks got together and formed a fraternity that had no national affiliation whatsoever, just a bunch of guys sitting around rating the girls and drinking beer.
Yeah.
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 But it was, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I still remember it, even though it was 44 years ago to this day. And I had truly a blast. And, everyone, if people are listening and they're, of a younger age and about to make a decision whether they want to go into the working world or go to college, please do yourself a favor. Go to college. It's a blast. It's a blast.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me. I feel like psychologically some folks get like they'll miss those years and they'll go in later life, they'll want to go back and revisit them. I feel like that happens sometimes in people's lives. And then college, I went to the University of Minnesota, and I went right from an undergrad degree into a graduate program. So I was one of the youngest people in my graduate program. And so I started teaching with a master's degree pretty young. I mean, I was 23. When I was teaching high school students, I was 23, I think 24.
Wow.
And turns out life experience is pretty important.
Yeah, really. Isn't the University of Minnesota the Golden Gophers?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. I remember. Pretty good hockey team, if I recall.
I'll tell you a story, sure. So I'm sitting there, I don't know, maybe 19 years old, in this house where me and my roommates constantly fight about whose turn it is to do the dishes, or why don't you do your dishes? It was always dishes arguments.
Yeah.
And that's so funny that it's like with roommates, it's always dishes drama. I don't know why that is, but that's the thing. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and I just had this sense to go walk down to, it's called Dinkytown, which is this kind of hip, downtownish sort of coffee vibes, right next to the University of Minnesota. So a lot of students frequent this area, commercial little area. And I just start walking down that direction for no apparent reason. And then I start hearing yelling and sort of like rioting. And it's not like I got an alert on my phone. I'm not even sure I had a cell phone at that point, And I was just like, what? And then I get to the center of these major cross streets in Dinkytown, and it is a full-on explosion. Literally, they've turned over a car, set it on fire. There are people climbing up light posts, and this is not very Minnesota nice behavior. And I was just like, what is happening? And it's like a car wreck that you just can't look away from. And I didn't partake in any of the illegal activities, but I was a spectator. And people were drunk, and apparently the Gophers had won. So this was the response to winning. And I'm like, what is it's? And to this day, it just surprises me. I just think to myself, why am I so different than like? It's just very strange that people would react in that way to a win. I just don't. I still to this day do not understand. But anyway, the police show up, and they show up in full-on shields, batons, like they're ready to break this thing up. And there was a moment where they were starting to form, and I was like, oh, they're circling me. Like I'm inside of this perimeter that they're creating, and that's not good.
Wow.
And I'm 19. I don't know a thing. And so I actually go up to one of the officers, and I say, hey, like I just want to leave. Like, can I go? And they just shake their head, just like no communication, nothing. Like you're inside this thing, and we're gonna go do this procedure, this operation, you're going to be a part of it. And I'm like, whoa. So I got pretty scared. And then, you know how like stores will have a little nook or cranny that you can kind of like go into where the door is. Yeah. So I just did that. I just stood there, and then they started marching, and they marched right past me. And I just left. I was like, okay, bye. Yeah. So technically 1 minute left, but don't worry about it. We'll go a little long on today's show, but wanted to give you a chance to pitch, to tell folks about your books, to tell folks about where they should come watch you, come see you, your social, all that stuff. So why don't you tell folks how they can get more Gurns in their life?
Well, a number of different ways. The easiest way to find my 4 books and my 3 anthologies is to type Keith Guernsey into the search window in Amazon. They can reach me. They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You're welcome to email me anytime, and I'll give you my email address, and I'll say it and I'll spell it because I'm told I still have my Boston accent. It's the Gurns 2005 at yahoo.com. That's T Tom, H Henry, E Edward, G George, U Unique, R Robert, N Nancy, S Sugar 2005 at yahoo.com. And I just want to mention that my newest book, On the Road to Remission, the Kindle version is on sale for 99 cents, and it is free for Kindle Unlimited members.
Hey, you got your pitch down. That's solid. Look at that. Like no stuttering, just boom,
No.
just right through. It's great. Well, a sales pro, I should expect no less. His email is also in the description, which I've added, that you can all check out. Obviously, listeners, if you can hit the like button, if you can go to YouTube, subscribe, leave a comment, all of these things help the algorithm understand that this is an important interview. I hope you're really enjoying this interview series with Keith. As you can tell, we are only to college. We're just about to get to the meat and potatoes of the actual sales and marketing. Which is what we all want. We just had a lovely appetizer, delicious appetizer. And we're going to move on to the next dish in the life of Keith. And shout out to Duchess Rideshare. She writes, great show, guys. Love the tie. Thank you very much. Just as a quick mention, Send It Rising, internet marketing, SEO, blogging, pay-per-click, Google Ads, web development. Just a reminder, if you know anyone looking for those sorts of things, we would love to help. I have the best team on the planet. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got Keith Gurns coming back, I hope. Yeah, Keith?
Absolutely, without question.
Okay, love it. So we'll have Keith back on the show. We'll get that booked. And then obviously if you have any questions for Keith or you would like to meet Keith, that sort of stuff, you can also email us, info, that's info@senditrising.com. Great show, Keith. Loved having you, and we'll have you back shortly.
Thanks for having me on again. Can't wait.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye.